everyone. No worries. We are not starting early. Mallory and I are testing out our quality. For those of you that were at our base live last week, streamlining every input in a workflow built for you, you will remember that we were having some streaming issues. I think last week with the weather, everything just said, nope, we're not working this week. So we decided we were going to hop on a little bit early and test. If you are watching and you want to help us test and can tell us what you're seeing on your end, if it's maybe different than what we're seeing, that would be great. But we're just going to check that out and test for the next couple minutes. Then we'll pause. Everyone can use the restroom, get some coffee, and then we will officially get started at 12 p.m. Eastern. But Mallory, I am going to go ahead and add this to the top of the page for those viewing early. So that way we're already at the top of the stream. And then if you want to share your screen, let's try this out, girl.
Okay, let me stop and then I'll start again.
Sounds good.
Okay, so I'm sharing my screen, Liz.
All righty. We have
Let me
one
head
person.
over.
Hello, whoever is watching.
Hi.
Thank you for that. Okay, we're looking clear so far. For those of you just joining, don't worry, we're not starting early. We are just testing out the stream to make sure that it is clear for you guys. Because, oh, Tracy. Hey, Tracy. She's here all the time. Hello, hello. Oh, is it still snowing in New York? Oh, my goodness. It's snowing here in Indianapolis, too. And I am ready for spring. Okay, I'm waiting for it to show up on, here we go. Looking clear so far. I can read what's on the screen, Mallory.
Okay, perfect.
Looking clear. And then you know what? I'm going to hop into YouTube really quick. And let's just test out and see how that's looking on YouTube as well.
It looks like Tracy says it looks good on YouTube.
Awesome.
Woohoo! The baby is good. Thanks for asking, Tracy. He slept better last night than the night before. So we'll take that as a win.
That is always a win. This looks great, girl. I think this looks awesome.
Perfect.
Okay. Well, then, as to not mess up the good streaming quality we have right now, we are going to let you guys take a quick, go get some coffee, head to the restroom. I'm glad this is working and it looks all good. And we will get started at 12 p.m. Eastern. I see some more people are hopping on. We're just testing out to make sure the quality looks good, guys. But we'll get started here in 8 minutes. And yeah, we'll see you then. Thanks, Tracy, for helping us troubleshoot. Thanks, Mallory. I'll see you in a couple minutes.
Yeah, of course.
Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Hey, Mallory.
Hi, Liz.
If you are just joining, thank you so much. This is Base Live, streamlining every input in a workflow that works for you. I am Liz Prue, VP of Marketing here at Base. This is Mallory, our fabulous Customer Success Manager.
Hi, everybody.
We're going to give everyone just a couple minutes to join. If you are not signed up for Base yet, you can go ahead and do that so you can follow along with Mallory and ask any questions. We do have a flow we're going to walk through, but you can ask any question. This is like open forum. If there's something that you've been meaning to learn more about, or if you just have a general question on, Mallory can answer all the things for you. So you can sign up. You can sign up for free. There's a free account. Takes 2 seconds. You can sign up right now. app.basehq.com. Mallory, do you want to give everyone just a quick overview of what you're going to walk through today?
Yeah, absolutely. So for those of you that don't know a whole lot about Base, Base is the first ever platform created specifically for assistants. And with that in mind, we are solving for the common workflows of an assistant, the pain points and challenges that assistants have, and really putting together a software that's built for you versus you trying to use something that was built for a salesperson or a marketing person. And so today I'm actually going to walk through just kind of a common scenario. For those of you that I haven't met before, I spent 10 years in software, and then I spent 2.5 years as an assistant. So I'm kind of marrying those worlds with Base. So I'm going to just kind of chat through some common cases or common scenarios that I had as an assistant, and I've heard from a lot of other assistants that are common, and really just talk through how Base is going to solve those pain points and challenges.
I love it. Awesome. And if you have any questions that we don't get to for the demo, I am monitoring the chat the whole time, guys. So that way we can have sort of a Q&A at the end to answer any questions that Mallory doesn't get to during the demo. Oh, we have someone from Boston. I bet you have a lot of snow, Fernanda. So I hope you are staying warm. Mallory's in Greenville, South Carolina, and I'm in Indianapolis. Are you guys cold right now?
Us?
There's snow?
There's no snow. It's been raining for ever. It seems like we got 1 day of sun and then it went back to rain again. It's 45, so not crazy cold, but
I'll
not
take
really
it.
warm either.
It's not freezing. I'll take it.
True.
Oh, we have someone from Dallas. I hope you are being safe. I hope you have power. I hope you have
water.
Oh my goodness. We've been really, really thinking about you guys and doing what we can over here. So hope you guys are warm and safe. Okay. I am going to give you the reins. Let's share this screen here. You guys, we tested this out. How long this morning, Mallory?
I mean, combined, probably an hour and a half. So here's to hoping that you guys can see a lot better than you could on Thursday. And for those of you returning, thanks for your patience and sticking in there with us.
Yes, you guys are awesome. And I'm going to double check really quick that this just showed up on our stream nice and clear.
Okay.
We have a little bit of a lag on Facebook, so we'll give that just a minute. It looks clear. It looks legible. We can at least show you guys. Oh, that looks fantastic. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. We better get started before it stops working.
All right. Well, we'll go ahead and jump in. And like Liz said, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to drop those in. I am going to kind of talk through these workflows that I was mentioning early on, but happy to deviate from that flow at any point to answer any questions or show you something that I'm not covering today. So I'm going to kind of talk through a scenario. So I'm an assistant. I've come in, maybe it's Monday morning. As I'm sure you all can appreciate, you probably have messages. If you're using a messenger app, you probably have some messages, maybe from your executive, maybe from some other colleagues. You undoubtedly have emails from maybe your executive, maybe some colleagues, contacts of your executive, requesting time, asking you questions. So that's kind of a common thing that we hear from assistants is you're constantly getting questions, requests, messages of different types from a million different directions. And I used to use Slack and email with an executive, and I would wake up in like a cold sweat in the middle of the night, just like terrified that I forgot that one message, that he asked me to do something. And then we continued having a conversation about something completely unrelated. And now that request is lost in like a Slack abyss. So if you've ever had that moment of fear or felt like you were going to lose something, that's something that we've identified with, and we've heard from a lot of assistants. And so one of our newest features is called Inbox. If you haven't used it, it's really a good place to kind of help you aggregate all those requests from different sources into one place. Right now, we have an integration with Slack, and you can also send email messages in, but we hope to add other platforms in the future. Right now, I'm just sharing my base screen, so you can imagine that I came in this morning, I went through my Slack messages, I went through my inbox, and I forwarded some of those messages into Base. As a result, I can remove them from my email inbox. I can mark them as completed or whatever you need to do in Slack. And what happens is they come into Base. And I say eventually, that's actually not a good word to use at all because it's pretty much instantaneous. So in Slack, if you have Slack integrated with Base, all you'll do is hover over the message. And there's a little toolbar of icons over on the right-hand side of a message. One of those icons is a bookmark icon. You simply click the bookmark icon, which in Slack adds it as a saved message, but that's actually the trigger that will push messages from Slack over to Base. And what it looks like is this. So you'll see where the kind of the source of the message, and then you'll see the message itself. You actually can change the density. So if you like to see some detail, you can do that, or you can kind of keep it compact. You'll also notice that I have forwarded a couple of emails into my Base inbox as well. In order to do that, all you have to do is click on this little settings button, and you will see an alias, an email alias. What I recommend doing is you can use the little copy button. I recommend programming or adding that alias as a contact in your inbox. This is really up to you, but you could also program it as a contact for your executive if you wanted them to be able to send things straight into your Base inbox. We've talked to assistants that have said from a boundaries perspective, it's really helpful for the executive to have that. So if they have something that they want to ask you to do on a Saturday afternoon, but they don't want to message you on a Saturday afternoon, they could simply send it into your Base inbox and it'll be available for you on Monday morning when you log in. So again, that email alias is here. Going back into inbox, so we can, imagine that I've gone through all those messaging platforms, my email, and I've sent over a couple of things that I need to take care of or need to be stored away as information in Base for my executive. So what I'm going to do is I know both of these items are tasks. They're things that I need to do. So I'm going to check them. And then I'm going to click this little Move Items button. When I do that, I see a screen, and these are all of the workspaces that I have in Base. Generally speaking, a workspace is representative of an executive that you support, and you can access or you can have as many of those workspaces as you want. I usually like to mention this too, that Inbox is going to be your only workspace agnostic feature in Base, meaning that Inbox is not kind of nested into a workspace like Digest Builder, Decision Stream, Dossier, all of those other features would be. So I simply choose which workspace I want to send the item to. And then I can say I want to create as new, or I can add to existing tasks, a note or contact. Those are going to live in Dossier, or we can send it as a question to Decision Stream. Because I know those two are things that I need to do, I'm going to choose to send them as a task. You'll notice that as soon as I do that, they're out of my inbox. Somebody's asked me this before, like let's say you got an email that contained a task that you needed to do, as well as some information that you wanted to file away in Dossier. You could just send that email in twice, and that way you could move one of them to tasks and one of them to Dossier. So that would be how you would handle that particular scenario. And let's say that this email contains some information that I want to file away in Dossier for my executive. Again, I would just select that checkbox, click Move Item, select the appropriate workspace, and then I would choose to add it as a new custom note. And before we go today, I will show you what that looks like. But let's say that I've dealt with all those kind of incoming items. I've assigned them to the appropriate inbox, our workspace. I've created them as the appropriate question, note, task, whatever, and I'm ready to go ahead and tackle my tasks. So I head into my task section. You'll notice that this is still marked as a beta feature. It is still a beta feature. It is fully functioning. We aren't aware of any bugs with it, but we've left the beta feature there just to indicate that we're not done. We've heard a lot of things like the ability to do recurring tasks, the ability to assign tasks, especially in a scenario where you and multiple assistants are collaborating on support of an executive. So those are all things that we are going to tackle. But like I said, we're just leaving that there to let you know that we still plan to add some functionality to this particular task. These top two tasks are the ones that I just sent over. So I can click into my task. Perhaps I want to shorten the title. So this one I'm just going to change to schedule Q1. Anybody else ever have this problem where if somebody's watching you type, you just cannot do it, no matter how good you actually are at typing?
I can't tell you how many recordings I have started and then had to stop because my brain stopped working.
Yeah, your fingers and brain have a disconnect anytime somebody's watching you type something.
Of course, yeah.
So I've changed my title here. You'll notice that the original question does carry over into the description, and then I can do all the things that I can normally do with a task. So I can assign a due date. Perhaps I want that done by Monday the 1st. I can add a tag. This is a scheduling item, so I'm going to choose a tag that I already have created called scheduling. If I have subtasks, I certainly could add those. And in this scenario, I think I probably would add a task, for each check-in that I need to schedule. So maybe I add a couple subtasks. So that way I know as I'm scheduling all these check-ins, who has been scheduled and who remains to be scheduled. And then I also can, you can add due dates, like sub-due dates to your subtasks. If it was a scenario where you were doing like a project that had multiple steps that needed to be done in a particular order. And then I can also ask a question. So in this scenario, my executive has just said schedule Q1 check-ins. I probably want to know how long he wants those check-ins to be, as well as, perhaps how many are in a particular day. Do we want to stack them all in one day? Do we want to do 2 per day across the team? Those are probably 2 questions that I have. So I'm going to go ahead and click the new questions button. And I'm going to ask how long should the Q1 check-ins be? And I'm also going to say, how many do you want in one day? You'll notice that there we go. You'll notice as I type and these questions are created, they're assigned this little draft badge. If you're new to BASE, this may not mean a lot to you, but if you have used BASE before, you'll notice that this is very similar to a decision stream draft tag. And that's exactly what it is. So from here, I could go into each of my tasks, assign subtask, assign questions. In fact, we'll do one more. So just so you can see, so this one he's asked, or she, I'm a female. So she has asked me to do some research for gifts. So I'm going to shorten this. So research gifts for teen. Again, I'm going to go ahead and assign a due date. And my question here is probably budget related. So what kind of budget are we looking for these team gifts? So again, I'm going to ask a question. What is the budget for team gifts per person? We probably need to make sure that we're on the same page. Is it a per person budget or a total budget? So again, I've added my question here. If I have other tasks that I want to add some information to, I can go back out to that task screen. In this scenario, I'm going to just go ahead and be done with that. And so in order to move to Decision Stream, I could come out and access this feature toolbar over on the left-hand side. But because this is an actual Decision Stream question that is forever linked to this particular task, I can actually just click on the question, and it's going to take me straight into our Decision Stream feature, and it's actually going to go ahead and open up that question into an edit modal. So here I have the question that I just asked. If I do need to add additional description for my executive, I can. So maybe we want to say something like, last year we spent about 50 per person. Maybe that's some good context for your executive as they think through how much do we want to spend this year. Maybe we had a really great year last year and we want to spend more. Maybe we didn't and we want to spend less. But that's probably a good point of context for the executive. After I've added my description, I can come into my response type. As you may be aware, we have multiple response types. And really the beautiful thing about Decision Stream, in my opinion, is that not only do you as the assistant get to kind of put some guardrails around the responses or the options that you give to the executive, but I often joke that executives suffer from decision fatigue, but in reality, it's probably true. You know, they're so busy answering questions or thinking through answers to things about, the company, their goals, their department, their individual team members, that when it comes to answering questions like this, it's just more difficult. So Decision Stream really allows you to act as a second brain for that executive and think through what are the potential answers that the executive would give to you. Depending on how long you've been working with that executive, you probably can already imagine what types of answers to most of your questions your executive would share with you. And this really gives you an opportunity to just put those answers in front of them and make it easy for them to give you a green light on one of those. So in this scenario, I'm going to choose single select, and then I'm going to type in my response options. So maybe we want to say, I always have to think through this. I don't know if you guys are the same way, but I think this is less than 50. Then we can maybe say 50 to 100, and then more than 100. Maybe those are the three options that I want to give to my executive. If this were a different scenario, maybe I'd actually already done research. Maybe I already know what the budget is and I want to give my executive some options. I could actually link out to some potential gifts based on the answer to this question. So these can act as links, and on the executive side, they would be able to click on the links and view the information that you've shared with them via that link. You do have the option to allow an open response, which would allow your executive to say, none of these, let's go with this one. So you can turn that on or off with this little toggle switch. And then you can also add resources. So if you needed to attach a spreadsheet or a PDF or something like that based on the nature of your question, the ability to add resources really just gives your executive a little bit of additional context to answer the question. You also can add a tag, and a tag often will act as a filtering mechanism. And then you also can mark something as a priority. And here I'm going to go ahead and click save. Again, so similarly, this Q1 check-in, how long should they be? We can do a single select and we can say 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 60 minutes. I'm going to pause here because from here I have kind of shown you how information gets into Base via inbox. We've talked a little bit about turning those inbox items into tasks and giving those tasks additional context or information for you, the assistant. And then we've talked about how to, if there are any questions associated with those tasks, how to create those questions and fill in some detail on those questions. So Liz, I'm going to pause at this point to see if we've had any questions come in before I move forward.
Yes, we've had a few questions come in. One is around teams collaborating, different EA teams collaborating through Base. We had someone asked, I think on YouTube,
Okay.
How that can help. So I did mention there are some ways that teams can collaborate on base together. We can, of course, I think it was Lizzie, we can set up a separate meeting with you and Mallory so she can get an idea of exactly what you're looking for. But if there are some specific team collaboration features you wanted to highlight.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so that's a great question. And base really does lend itself to multiple scenarios. So if you're a single assistant supporting a single executive or multiple executives, base is a great tool for you to kind of work in that silo by yourself, but it's also a great tool for team collaboration. So if you have a scenario where you're always sharing support of an executive. So maybe there are two assistants supporting one executive. Maybe it's a scenario where there's a junior executive and a senior executive, or even you've got like an EA manager that wants some insight into the work that the assistants are doing, a team plan or even an enterprise plan, depending on your setup, is a great feature because you do get that ability to share workspaces. Similarly, if you are just in a scenario where you don't really collaborate on support, but when somebody takes a week for vacation or something like that, we don't want the executive to be without support. So you'd be able to share the workspace for a week, 2 days, whatever that length of time that you're going to be out of the office is. And then you could take that access back if it made sense once you return to the office. Another feature that we offer for that kind of collaborative experience is the ability to share templates, which we will get into when we go into Digest Builder. And then I kind of alluded to this too, but one of the things with tasks that we want to be able to do is allow you to assign tasks to other users in the same account. So if there were things like, again, you were working in a collaborative experience, if there were some things that I needed to complete and some things that Liz needed to complete, we could assign that so it was very clear who was responsible for what.
That's awesome. I'm responding in the comments too. Some folks are asking where to start if you're signing up for base. We know starting any new tool can be super overwhelming. I'm a tech geek, and every time I start something new, I'm like, oh. Or whenever a new update comes out, you're just like, I cannot right now. But with base, I think a really good place to start if this is your first entry with the tool is the free 30-day challenge. It focuses specifically on Digest and Decision Stream, mostly Digest, because that is through polling, our number one, like, most loved feature. So I'll drop that link to the 30-day challenge into the YouTube and base chats, or YouTube and Facebook chats. So you guys have that as well. Any other questions that you guys have before Mallory moves on? We see some folks talking about, what is Lizzie saying? Love how you can assign tasks to other folks.
Yeah, so just to kind of clarify that, that's something that we do plan to add with tasks because we've heard that from a lot of people, especially in those collaborative environments. Right now, what people are doing as a workaround is adding a tag to the task. So you could tag in fact, maybe I should just go back and show this while we're talking about it. But in tasks, you have the ability to add tags to the task. And so what people are often doing until we have the ability to make assignments is just to add tags. So Lizzie, you could tag some of those things as Lizzie and some of those things as Mallory, for example. And then the tags act as filtering mechanisms. So you can click on the tags and it'll filter your list down. You also can use the filter icon. So if you wanted to pull things that you're responsible for this week, you also have that due date range that you can select as well. And then we just recently added the ability to sort your tasks by these two filters. So it's coming. It's something that we've heard repeatedly. Similarly, we've heard recurring tasks. So those are both things that we plan to do in the task feature.
Awesome. We had someone else mention Microsoft Teams, our MS Teams to inbox feature will be live soon. I believe we have heard word from Microsoft that things are moving along, right? I don't want to misspeak.
No, I think we were verified by like their app Store, like the Microsoft equivalent of App Store recently. So it's been a process, but we hear you, we see you. All you Microsoft people, that is something that we're working on. It's just, there are a few more steps in the Microsoft process than there were in the Slack process. So that's the only reason it came first.
Awesome. I have some folks asking too if they could get another or about our free account. So if you signed up a few months ago or more, oh gosh, time is not real anymore with COVID. If you signed up in the summer, it may have been before we launched our free plan. That's when we had our free trial going on before we had our free version. So if you sign up right now, we have a free version that allows you to use the basic functionality of the tool, and it's still super valuable. So you can sign up if you want to. You should be able to re-log in if
yeah. And we also, I can add a little color to that too, Liz. We also changed the way you log into Base back in May of last year. So if it's been quite some time before you've logged in, you'll notice that we no longer use authentication as our login method. You log in with a username and password now. So if you go to log in and you don't know your password, just use the reset password link. And that should force the system to send you that reset password so you can set a password. Similarly, if you did sign up when we were doing the 30-day free trial, we do offer a free plan now. If you had a bunch of workspaces, the only thing that's going to be slightly different for you is with the free plan, you get one workspace. So if you had a bunch of workspaces before, it'll walk you through the process of selecting which workspace you want to move forward with. So I just want to mention that in case that confuses anybody. But yes, absolutely. We offer that free plan. So feel free to go in and use that.
Awesome. Thanks, Mallory. I think those are all the current questions.
Okay.
We want to
move on. Yeah, absolutely. Great questions, guys, and keep them coming. Sometimes I don't think of things that might be helpful to share. So I'm going back into Decision Stream. So again, as a reminder, we've kind of talked through adding some options. I'm going to add one more for this one. So maybe we tell our executive, as a reminder, there are 10 people on the team. So that's going to help them know, like if we do 2 a day, we're going to be talking 5 days of check-ins. So again, I'm going to do single select. So then we could say 2 per day over 5 days. We could say, 5 per day over 2 days. Oops. Stack all 10 in a day. So again, just an example, but we can put those options in front of our executive via Decision Stream. And once I've added all of those to my, once I've kind of gone in and filled out all the information on my questions, I'm ready to send those to my executive. So you'll notice that we have a draft column as well as an awaiting response column. The draft questions are going to be questions that we are in draft. We have not shared with our executive yet. Awaiting response are going to be questions that we have shared and the executive either hasn't responded to them or they've explicitly skipped them. And you may wonder how you know which one is true. And you'll know with this little badge. So this one says awaiting response. Awaiting response means my executive has not answered it. It doesn't necessarily mean they haven't seen it. They could have seen it and just not answered. But more often than not, it typically means they haven't seen it. The other badge that you'll see is one that says skipped, and it has a light yellow background. And I'll show you what that looks like as well from the executive experience. But the reason I mention this is you do have the ability to commingle draft and awaiting response questions. So what I can do is just mark the questions in the order that I want them to appear. And I can send over my awaiting response questions too. So I'm going to go ahead and select a few of those, and then I can click on my share button. Why are we not sharing? Hold, please. I don't know why that was happening, but
because it's Monday.
Yeah, well, and I'm also in a demo environment, and sometimes our developers are making changes to features as I'm demoing them. So that would not happen to you, but again, demo environment. So I've grabbed my questions. I can name this decision stream group. The name is visible to your executive, so I do like to mention that. But more often than not, the reason I encourage people to name the group of questions is if you're going to then include this decision stream in a digest, naming the group of questions makes it a lot easier for you to identify which group of questions you're looking for. So let's say that I'm working on my digest for tomorrow. So I'm going to name this tomorrow's date. You'll notice over on the right-hand side that you do have a static preview of the questions. So you can kind of click through to see what questions you've included, how they're going to look for the executive. You can't click on them, obviously, because it's a static preview, but it's just another good place to make sure, is everything spelled correctly? Does it make sense? And then once you've looked at that, you have several options for how you want to deliver the stream to your executive. So you can copy the link for those of you using, GChat or Teams or something like that. You could copy the link and drop it into another platform. If you're using Slack and you've integrated, and I haven't, of course, in this workspace, if you've integrated Slack, you would be able to select the either channel or direct message that you want the link to go to. You can text the link to your executive, and it's always going to come from this phone number. So similar to the way like a reminder for a doctor's appointment would come in, it's always going to come from that message. So typically for the assistants using that option, we're seeing them program this number into their executive's phone, so there's no question what it is and who it's coming from. You do have the ability to add an additional message, and you'll notice with Slack and text, you have the option to send now or schedule for later. So more often than not, I see people using text and Slack for time-sensitive questions to the executive. I've also seen people use it as a reminder mechanism. They might schedule a decision stream question to go at a certain time to say, hey, don't forget, you need to leave the office in 15 minutes to make your lunch meeting. And the only answer is okay. So it kind of acts as a closed loop follow-up with the executive. So the executive clicks okay. You as the assistant know they got it. They're doing what they're supposed to. And you can go on. I've also seen it used as kind of a end of day wrap up to say, these were the things that you wanted to accomplish today. What of these things did you actually get accomplished and what needs to move forward? And then we typically see people adding to Digest Builder those things that aren't necessarily time sensitive, but can be answered asynchronously by the executive. So that's actually what I'm going to show you today. Similar to what we saw in Task, where you could come out of the stream and actually navigate to Digest Builder with the left-hand navigation bar. You can do that here too, but we do give you this little handy kind of jump link essentially that allows you to jump directly into Digest Builder. I am going to, actually we'll just do a new one. Bear with me, let me open one that's already in 2.0. So this is Digest Builder, and if you guys aren't familiar with Digest Builder, it's a great tool to deliver daily briefs, executive summaries. We've heard them called day packs, whatever the term is that you use. It's a really good feature to deliver kind of professional looking, concise updates to your executive. We often see people say, hey, I've never done this before. Liz kind of plugged the 30-day challenge, but a lot of people that have gone through that 30-day challenge come back saying, I didn't know that I needed Digest Builder, but now I can't imagine not having it. Because what people find is they often get a lot more time back in their one-on-one meetings with their executive because they've delivered so many updates asynchronously. They've had a lot of questions answered by their executive asynchronously. So Liz, did you have a question before I move forward?
I was going to say, we also have heard a lot of people say, I'd love to do this, but I'm not sure how to introduce it to my executive. Mm-hmm. And the 30-day challenge, Natalie, who's our wonderful executive assistant for our CEO page, she's hosted a few of these before as well. She has provided a template, an email template to help you introduce that to your executive too. So if you sign up for the challenge, you'll have access to that as well.
Yeah, very good. Thank you for that, Liz. So today, what I'm going to show you is walking through creating a daily digest that includes that decision stream that I just created. You may be looking at my screen, and if you use Base regularly, you may notice that it looks different than yours. We do have another 2 more features that I'm going to show you today that are in beta. One of them is called Digest 2.0, and it's we heard a lot of people say, I love Digest, but I really wish my executive could interact with them a little bit more. And for those of you that told us that, your wishes have been granted. So again, it's a beta feature. We're not done with it, but I'll show you today what we have completed. And if any of you are interested in trying out Digest 2.0, you can connect with us with this little chat bubble down in the lower left-hand corner of your screen. Just let us know that you want Digest 2.0, and either myself or Michael will enable it for you. But so I'm going to go ahead and show you what it looks like to create a digest. You click on this new digest button. You do have the ability to create from scratch or create from a template. I'm always a proponent of creating from a template, and there's multiple reasons why. From an efficiency and an effectiveness standpoint as an assistant, it allows you to create that digest a lot quicker. It kind of helps you make sure that you don't leave anything out if the day gets crazy. But from your executive's perspective, it ensures that the information is always in the same order for him or her. So they know if they're just looking quickly, they know exactly where to find something because it's always in the exact same order. Another thing I like to mention is I'm showing you what a daily digest looks like. But I always encourage people to take a look at this inspiration tab because it gives you some other ways that you might leverage digest builder. So I've seen people using it as a meeting recap. I've seen people tracking monthly and quarterly goals so that they're doing goal updates every month or quarter. And at the end of the year, they have one digest that has, month over month or quarter over quarter goals along with did we achieve the goals? Did we miss the goals? Why did we miss the goals? Things like that. So definitely check out the inspiration tab. I'm going to grab one that I've created for this purpose. So you'll notice that when you have a template, it drops in the whole structure of the digest for you. So all I really have to do is come in here and update some information. So again, I'm doing this for tomorrow. So I put in tomorrow's date. I update this. Again, I cannot remember what tomorrow is. This is what happens when you have a baby at home. But I've kind of dropped in just some generic, a generic greeting for my executive. I could change that. So maybe I want to say a reminder, I'll be in a little late tomorrow because I have a doctor appointment. So you can change that greeting as you see fit. Maybe I'm doing email management and I'm saying you've got 2 draft emails that I've drafted a response to. Feel free to review and send when you have a moment. Maybe I'm working on some projects and so I'm giving some project updates. I'm also going to pull in that decision stream. So again, I know it's this one because I've titled it tomorrow's date, but I also see a preview of what the questions are. So I select that. You'll notice in Digest 2.0, you have events. So you can pull in events like you normally would into a digest, but you also have tasks. So let's say that some of the tasks that I actually have in Base are things that my executive has to physically complete, but I'm keeping track of whether or not they're done yet. So we'll just grab one of these. And so you'll be able to see, I grabbed one that was already completed, but we'll do a different one. So I can pull over a task for my executive. And then I'm also going to pull in calendar events. So I'm going to add in, that is not what I meant to do, but I added in those calendar events. So again, similarly, some of these things are probably not things you need to provide context to your executive about, but some of them may be. You'll notice here that some of these events have been added as collapsible events or collapsible sections. And the real nice thing about that is you can give your executive a lot of context. So maybe you're telling them, here are the notes from last meeting. Here's the objective for this meeting. You're giving them a lot of context that they would need in order to take that call or that meeting, but you don't necessarily want all of that to appear when you first look at the digest. So by adding them as collapsible sections, your executive can view the additional context or information when it's the right time and then close it back up so they don't see everything all at once. That's another feature of the Digest 2.0. And then let me see, what else was I going to add? So we can imagine that I've been going through my day as I'm being pulled in different directions. I'm coming back to my digest. I'm adding updates. I'm adding information to the events. And then when I'm done, I can kind of review this one more time and I click preview and send. Similarly to decision stream, you get that kind of static preview of what it's going to look like for your executive. You can see what it'll look like on a desktop as opposed to a mobile device. And again, you have multiple options for how you want to deliver this to your executive. With email, text, or Slack, you have, again, the send now and schedule for later option. Let's say this was actually a meeting recap instead of a daily digest. I could send this to multiple recipients if I wanted to. And then you simply click send it. I'm going to copy the link just so you guys can see. Oh, no, we can't do that, Liz, because of how we have this set up. But you can imagine it would look just like this, and your executive would actually be able to click the questions and mark the tasks as complete. I'm going to just, in another tab, open it up so you can see one of the last features of Digest 2.0 that we've added. So you'll notice in this screen, we've got an edit mode, but we all have what we call a commenting mode. And so you can imagine your executive kind of views your daily digest, and maybe they have a question that they want to ask about something. So let's say it's about one of your updates. So you could say, the executive asks a question. On your end, it's going to show up as a question that appears from your executive. So you have a couple of options here for how you can handle this. You could simply respond back to your executive. We also are introducing emojis. So let's say your executive asks a question and you just want to give it a thumbs up to say, yep, I saw this and it's taken care of. Similarly, you could do the check mark, you could heart it. So there's a couple of ways with the dynamic digest or the Digest 2.0 that your executive can actually interact with this information. They also can mark tasks completed. And the last thing that I like to mention with this is in a scenario where maybe you've sent this digest and something changes, you actually can update the information in the digest builder, and it will be reflected on the executive side. All they have to do is refresh their digest, and that information that you've changed within Digest Builder will become live on the link that you've shared with them. I'm going to pause here for questions.
Yes, and I've also added to, for those that want to see what it looks like on the executive side, this is just a quick snapshot of what it looks like if you're texting the link. But the same thing shows up if you're Slacking the link, if it's a digest, that clean, hey, what time would you like it rescheduled, whether it was those pre-filled answers, open response, however they prefer. It's not, they're not logging into Base, they're not taken into a new tool. You are meeting them where they are and providing them that clear, streamlined look.
Yeah, and I also like to typically mention, because this is a question that we often get, but a lot of people say, I don't want to introduce another tool to my executive. And again, we hear you, we see you, and we agree with you, quite frankly. Base is a tool for you. It's meant to kind of match your workflows. It's meant to make your work easier, more effective, more efficient, help you provide more value to your executive, help you be more proactive, but your executive will only see outputs from Base. So they don't need an account. They never need to log in, but they'll see things like Decision Stream and Digest Builder. So again, just outputs from Base.
Awesome. I know we're running up, we have about 14 minutes left. Do we have any other questions? I know you guys have been following along in the app, which is great. If you have any other questions you want to ask Mallory right now, or it's just something else you want us to run through, we can definitely do that. We also have some exciting announcements for those of you that haven't heard about our upcoming events, we can walk through as well. But because there's just a couple second lag on Facebook, we'll give you guys a minute to see if we have any more questions. Mallory, was there anything else that you wanted to share?
Yeah, while questions come in, I mentioned earlier when I was in Inbox and I sent something to Dossier, I want to show you what that looks like. So again, if you're not familiar with BASE, Dossier is, again, it's kind of that place to store vital information about your executives. So it's kind of that common information, that contact information, scheduling preferences, traveling preferences, but it's so much more than that too. And I think where it becomes super duper valuable is the contacts and custom section. And those are specifically the areas that you can send information from Inbox. So let's see, if I think I sent it over as a custom, but you can send items from Inbox over as a contact. Contacts are really going to be those key people in your executive's life that you need information about in order to best support your executive. So maybe it's their spouse, their children, maybe it's doctors, the vet, whoever, VIPs in their life, friends. You have the ability to, store information about their birthday, the different relationships. You can leave notes, you can have attachments. And the same is true in custom. So this is actually the one that I just sent over from Inbox. And it brings in the whole body of the email. You do have the ability to edit and add as much information as you would like. So that's kind of Dossier in a nutshell. And so Liz, I'll turn it back over to you for questions.
I was just scrolling through and someone did have a question about how we'll work with MS Teams. So the MS Teams integration will be for our inbox feature, just to clarify that. So that way, if we know so many assistants work within MS Teams, you'll be able to send those to-do items like Mallory was showing through Base Inbox to organize with Base tasks, include in your digest, decision streams, and all that fun stuff.
I do suspect at some point, though, that where we can send information from Base to Slack, I suspect we'll eventually do that with Teams as well. So being able to send like decision streams and digest. It won't be tomorrow, but again, I suspect it'll be something that we do in the future.
Soon.
Yes.
Awesome. Anything else, guys? Any other questions or anything, Mallory, you wanted to make sure we touched on before we head into some fun announcements?
I guess the only other thing I'll mention is on the dashboard or the homepage of Base, I always like to mention this activity panel because I've heard people use it heard people refer to it as like an accountability tool, but it gives you insight for how your executive is interacting with information that you've sent. So earlier I mentioned with a decision stream, if something says awaiting response, it means they either haven't seen it or they haven't answered it. This will give you some insight into which of those two is it? Have they seen it and just not answered it, or have they not seen it yet? The same is true for Digest Builder. So it'll show you if digests have been viewed. So wanted to mention that on the activity panel.
Awesome.
And that is all for me.
Awesome. Well, we have some really, really exciting announcements. If you do not get our newsletter, we announced that we are having another free summit for assistants. It's on March 10th. We are having some amazing speakers. Jeremy Burrows is going to be there. We're having partners from Docket, an incredible meeting management tool. Loom, an awesome video tool, will be providing a demo as well for how you can use video to help with bringing that personal connection while you're still working remotely and leveraging video in general to help roll out new projects, initiatives, onboard new team members. And we are also having Hallie Warner from she's the co-author of Founder and Force Multiplier. We love her. If you're in our Base for Assistance book club, we're reading that book right now. And if you're just hearing about the book club, you can check out, hold on, Facebook just renamed it. They're not called units anymore in our Facebook group. They're called, hold on, guides. They're called guides. In the Facebook group, that bar at the top, under guides, you'll see the book club, and you can check out what we're currently reading, collaborate with other readers, and discuss different chapters. So I'm going to go ahead and drop the link to register for the summit now. We're going to be doing some pretty cool stuff. We're going to be giving away some free prizes. We're going to be having fun. We're just going to have all sorts of folks there. Additionally, we do have an Instagram, but we're starting to post to it more. And I'm going to be that shameless follow me on Instagram person right now. So I'm going to drop our Instagram link. So follow us there, collaborate with us. We've been having so much fun chatting with you guys in the community that we're like, okay, great. Let's kind of revamp all of our different social channels. So check us out there as well. And I think Stacy, she just asked another question.
Yeah. And Liz, if you can put my screen back up, I was going to answer Stacy's question. So
absolutely.
This is true for several things. So the question was, when I'm building a digest and I don't want the Zoom links to appear on daily events, is there a setting to remove all the meeting locations versus going into each event? Great question. Yes, there is. So if you go into the menu at the top of the screen and then Workspace Settings, this feature is actually specific to the workspace. So maybe you want location for some executives and don't want location for others. You go into the Digest tab and you have the ability to kind of tune how you want the default information to appear. So if you don't want location to appear by default, you can simply turn that feature off. One of the things that I showed on the Digest too was making calendar collapsible. So if you always want any event that has detail in the description to be a collapsible event, you can do that by default. You also can insert calendar attachments by default, all of that. So I encourage you as you use Base to go into the Workspace Settings, because you have the ability to set some defaults for how information is going to appear or what's going to happen with particular information as you're using Base. And again, it's workspace specific. So I encourage you to come in here and put in your executive's phone number and email address so you don't have to type it in each time. But you do have the ability to tune it based on the executive's specific preferences. Good question, Stacy.
Additionally, some of you have been asking about these videos and if they're recorded. After every Base Live, I send out direct links to the recordings, but you can always check every single Base Live or even our 2020 Summit. We have all those recordings available as well in the announcements tab of this Facebook group. If you're in the Facebook group, if you're on YouTube, I'm going to drop the link in here as well to our playlist. We have a Base Live playlist where I folder all of these, so easy access. Tracy would like to know, is highlighting a feature in Digest 2.0?
So you can, and don't quote me on this because I think we were having some, I think we were potentially having a problem with this in the past, but we do have this feature to change the background color. So it's here and you have that ability to, yes, highlight information. I think where we were having problems with it was turning that off, but that's been fixed. So never mind.
There you go.
Yeah, our team is super fast when it comes to things that aren't working the way people expect them to. So I know last week we were having a problem with some people not being able to turn off the highlighting, but yeah, it looks like that's been resolved.
Perfect. Any other questions, guys? You just love it so much. Yes. We are going to try and do more of these that way. And we focus in the past on a couple specific features. We've done Decision Stream. We've done Digest. At our summit, our Start Leading Summit on March 10th, we will be hosting a new features demo with some surprise guests as well. to show you different ways that they're succeeding with using Base and all the different features. Maybe before then, we'll do another one. I'll drop a poll in the follow-up email to see what you guys are wanting to see more of, whether it's digest, tasks. I know we did a task-specific one, but you were on maternity leave, Mallory.
Yeah, I wasn't there for the migration party, so I
It was a
want to
migration
be in
party.
on it.
Yeah, I think we should have another party. Let's do
I feel good
another
about
task
it.
migration party. We'll give away some prizes. Let's make it fun. February is the worst, so we're going to we're just going to make this way more fun. But okay, guys. Well, thanks so much, Mallory. Thank you, and thank you everyone for your patience.
Yes.
That was clear. It looked perfect. Wasn't blurry. Awesome.
Yes,
thank you.
Thanks for your patience, and for those of you that joined us again today. So thank you.
See you next time.